Today I'm joined by Brit Hansen, Senior Marketing Manager at OSDesign. Brit, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me, Jesse. It's really exciting I get to be here.
Awesome. So tell me, how did you get into this industry? Was it always the plan for you?
No, actually, funny enough, when I started college, this was a few years ago. I originally wanted to be a writer, and God bless my parents, but they were really cute in saying, "That's cute, Brit, but what are you going to do for money?" So in college, I attended the College of Textiles open house, and they just seemed like a really enthusiastic group and very warm. And I thought, okay, maybe I could find something here. And I saw in a brochure they had the Acorn HeartNet, which I don't believe still exists, but I had never heard of biomedical textiles. And that day, I walked out and I called my dad and I said, "Dad, I'm going to design your knee replacements." At the time, he thought he might need them. And that put me on the path of biomedical textiles. And I decided to go in for material science and then, of course, engineering. So that carried me through my first job. I was introduced to Globus Medical through that job and wanted to see, hey, what's like the bigger view on what's going on instead of medical components. And I guess because I was very obsessed with organization and speaking with people, I went from engineer to project manager. And over the past few years, I've been introduced slowly to different med device, but also different forms of marketing and storytelling. Lucky for me, back in 2020, I was able to make the switch over to marketing manager. And now, of course, that's what I'm doing today. And it's been really fun to come back to my parents and kind of say, "Hey, remember when I wanted to be a writer? Guess what?"
Me
It's
now.
fun to see. It's fun to see. It's kind of come full circle. And I have an absolute blast. I absolutely love working in orthobiologics now, especially for the company I work for. I think they have a great story. So long story, even longer. That's how I ended up here.
Beautiful. So your company, OSDesign, what exactly do you guys do?
So we make one very specific product. It's called Catalyst. And what's really cool about it is I would pick out probably three items that are very specific to our product. First, it's the actual composition of the biologic. So it's a synthetic, it's a nanoscale surface, and it has silicate substitution. So it's actually the largest silicate substitution out there in the market. And we found that that actually creates a really cool interaction in the body where instead of just getting one pathway to build bone, we get two. And so we have intramembranous ossification and we have endochondral ossification. And that's what really pulled my interest initially with the company is endochondral ossification only happens when you're in a very low vascularity area. And I know you need vascularity to grow bone. So I'm like, how in the heck do they do this? So it's really cool to see all of the preclinical and clinical data supporting that pathway. And then towards the end of the bone process, it's cell mediated remodeling. And we can see that through histology. We can see where the osteoclasts are nibbling away at our little granules. So the product itself is, again, it's a smaller company. We're really focused on this one product, but I think it's going to make a really huge impact on the market, on fusion. And so far, I've heard really great stories from surgeon users that this is kind of changing the new generation of osteobiologic synthetics.
So firstly, very cool product. I agree with you. Definitely something very ingenuitive. Guess it's a good
Hmm.
word for it.
That works.
From what I've gathered, you guys are not commercialized yet, are you?
We are. We
Oh, really?
currently,
Okay.
so we only sell in the States. Originally, the company Design did make a cranial implant. That was their main product until I want to say a couple of years ago, maybe 2022, 2023, before my time, I should say. And they ended up acquiring this product Catalyst from a company, Seracos, who was based in Scotland, and slightly made the switch over from doing the implant and biologic to just being a biologics company. So as long as I've been with them, they've been a pure play biologics company and going after, again, spine, that's where I've been for a while. And now going into foot and ankle and learning more about that anatomy.
Okay. So you guys are only selling in the States right now. How's that coming along for you?
Really well. The States are very I would say competitive. I can't 100% compare it to other markets out there, but I have heard that it is, again, one of the most competitive markets that we have in the world. It is a large market when it comes to spine. I don't believe as large as Japan, but it's pretty good. And the fact that I live here really helps to have a pulse on what's happening in the market, in the industry, and keeping up with surgeons. So I think it's going really well. We have a lot of champions for our product. Just last night, we had a webinar and we had two surgeons on there who are, again, big fans. One of them's used Catalyst for, I think, 3 or 4 years. The other is very prevalent when it comes to biologics. And he's a well known name that, when people hear it, they're like, oh, I should pay attention to this product. So it's being picked up by people who, again, really care about the health of their patients, but also can see that I don't want to call other companies and their products bullshit, but sometimes you market Me Too devices and they're very good. I would say this is definitely not a Me Too device, and it's made a big impact with surgeons and with patients. And for me, that's really important to have something that's not just going to be successful and sell, but to be successful and sell because of a reason. It is a good product. We're not out here being pushy and trying to, take over the world. I mean, maybe I might take over the world one day, but for now, it's just it has a great story, it has a great use, and it's definitely filling a need in the industry.
You mentioned a little bit that obviously this is a great product. Do you guys have any real competitors out there?
Yes, our top competitors, I would say, is Curos Biosciences and Therapeutics. A lot of that is because again, they both sell synthetics. They both have really good stories. Therapeutics came out with a product I Factor that has made a huge impact in the market. And I think, again, they're both really good products. They address the challenge of fusion differently than we do. But is a challenge because, again, they have good products and they have really great stories and they have a really big team. And for us, I think we're 4 marketing people strong now as of 2 months ago.
So you've obviously got a lot of competitors in the game right now. What are you doing to stay ahead of them?
A lot of research, and I would say a lot of LinkedIn stalking, which sounds really terrible. I know you don't want to use the term stalking lightly, but every single morning I go on, the first thing I look at is LinkedIn. I pay attention to Google alerts and I try to keep up with what is our competition doing, what new studies are out there, how are our existing product, how is it actually helping patients, how's it being used in cases, can we use those case studies to kind of help show our wonderful fusion prowess that's out there. So it is a lot of keeping your pulse on what's happening in the market and knowing that whatever your reaction is, preferably proactive, not reactive, but whatever that action is, it has to be efficient and impactful. Because I know that as a marketer and my team, we can most certainly not take on another company who is larger or has a lot more money, has many more team members. So whatever we do has to be very purposeful and has to be very strategic and impactful.
So ROI is obviously very important to your company here. What are you finding is by far giving you the best results these days?
So nowadays, I would say that the most ROI that we see is from human interaction. It still makes a huge impact for surgeons to be able to talk to other surgeons to find out how products work. I know that, if we have a surgeon right now who's potentially thinking about using it, it's going to make a big difference for them to be able to talk to one of our really passionate current users. And it's not only great that way because they get a chance to speak with someone else who is more clinically minded and they actually went to medical school, which we did not go. We can speak, top to bottom about how we think our product's going to change their life, but it's more impactful coming from a peer, coming from someone who actually knows what it's like to be in the OR, to work on these patients, to see these patients as they're healing afterwards and looking at all of those challenges. So I would say that those, what we call them peer to peer. So the peer to peer interactions have been absolutely phenomenal. And it really gives the surgeons a chance to ask the good, the bad, and the ugly. And of course, for us, we want to try to avoid saying ugly things about our product. But there's always a slight like, okay, well, you ran into this challenge. How'd you overcome it? And it's good having those surgeons. So I find honestly that in medtech in general, I find that a lot of human interaction is really impactful, whether it be at a conference or you have a meeting, you do a presentation for OR group or something. I find that that's more impactful than sending out a brochure or, posting on LinkedIn. Those sort of things that kind of leave you slightly removed from the person. And it gives you, yeah, I think it gives you a lot better impact on that person.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Human interaction is important in every industry, but something like MedTech, where people read journals and people know who everyone is who's big shots in the game, when you got one of them on your team, it's inconsequentially good for you. So,
Mhm.
speaking of which, how do you go about meeting all these surgeons and, like you say, these champions for your brand?
We get a chance to meet surgeons through, I would say, a mix of channels. Again, I do go on LinkedIn quite frequently and I try and find who are the voices on LinkedIn, who is posting the most out there. You'll have your Dr. Chol Kim or your Dr. Betsy Grunch, who, I would say they're on a whole nother level. Dr. Betsy Grunch is, I believe, one of the spokespeople for Figs now, which go her. So it's looking to see who's actually on LinkedIn trying to interact with their fellow peers, going to conferences and seeing who are doing the presentations, who is stopping by the booths to have these conversations, checking the Google alerts to see who's getting published, what are they talking about. And then more importantly, I would say our sales group. So we have regional sales managers who work with distributors, and those relationships that they build with surgeons is invaluable because, again, I can try and find someone on LinkedIn, find what they have in terms of publishing, so on and so forth. But it's those salespeople that get to see the surgeon day in, day out. They get to see them on their good days, their bad days. They hear those after cases where maybe somebody didn't fuse and they're frustrated. So having that ability to have a really good relationship with sales so that they can introduce you to these up and comers and these people that they get to see every day is so, so important. Which is why I know there's always a joke that sales and marketing are always one against each other. I like to think that it's a really symbiotic relationship where I couldn't do my job without sales. And they keep me, again, more grounded and integrated into the industry as opposed to more of the overall picture that I am seeing via Google Alerts or LinkedIn or social media.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a unique situation you have here, sales and marketing on the same page. I don't know how you do it. Just before we hop off here, Brett, do you have any last pearls of wisdom you'd like to leave for our listeners?
Oh my goodness. Pearls of wisdom. I could probably give, pearls of wisdom for every role I've had, product manager, engineering. But for specifically for managers, it's keep an open mind and keep learning. I have found that it is kind of restrictive for you if you go into a role and think, I'm not going to do this because it's not my job, or I'm not interested in talking to this surgeon because they don't use a product that I use. What I found in this industry, it's really important to, again, maintain relationships. I think those are absolutely huge. And then also learning new skills and learning new practices, new techniques that are coming out there. There's always something changing in this industry. And I think that you're missing out a lot if you're not trying to learn more about the advancements, what you can do with AI or with technology to kind of help that. And then again, maintaining those relationships with the surgeons, the salespeople, everyone you've met. It's always good to have those relationships.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Well, Brett, lastly, before we hop off here, where can any of our listeners find you if they want to get in touch?
So, if they want to get in touch, I'm on LinkedIn. Pretty easy to find Brit L. Hansen. I do have a website that I kind of keep track of. It's called thebritfactor.co. It's my attempt at trying to create a blog. And attached to that, I also have an Instagram called The Brit Factor. And I keep that posted with all the conferences that I've been to, sometimes if there's any updates in the market and things like that. So,
Beautiful. Thank you so much for being here.
yep, thank you. Thank you for having me.